Joining us now to further discuss the global impact, let's bring in CFR Director of International Economics, Benn Steil, and SPB International Trade Practice Co-Chair, Frank Samolis. Guys, good to have you here. If you haven't read Ben's books, they're great. New one on the Marshall Plan, great book about Bretton Woods. I mean all those things, but I'm almost buttering you up because I'm about to provoke you.
Fair enough.
Handelsblatt reports today that the U.S. has offered a deal to Europe. Is it you get rid of your 10% tariffs, we'll get rid of our 2.5% tariffs. I know you hate tariffs. I read all your stuff. But what if, ultimately, we actually have fewer tariffs because of this?
It could work. This is the one bright spot in the markets right now on the trade picture, Michelle. President Trump suggested earlier this week that this tariff fight was really all about autos. It wasn't about steel or aluminum. He'd be willing to negotiate on that, but he was going to focus on autos. So the possibility of a U.S.-EU deal, I think, is really the silver lining here.
And Frank, don't you think his ultimate goal, too, is to have a similar reduction in tariffs with China?
Well, I think that's right. It's remember, there are a number of different statutes that the president is relying on. The 232 originally was steel and aluminum. There's now a separate one on cars. China is under Section 301. All very confusing, but I think President Trump's modus operandi is to use leverage in one case to get results in another. So yes, I think we could see some overall tariff reductions.
Wow, that would be tremendous, wouldn't it? If that's where we're going?
But the president will have to make some concessions here. The U.S. imposes 25% tariffs on the import of pickup trucks. It's not clear yet to what extent he's going to be willing to take that down significantly. Maybe the Europeans are going to demand zero. Also, in order to make this legal under WTO rules, it can't just involve the United States and the EU. Almost certainly the South Koreans and the Japanese are going to have to be brought into such a deal.
So then, Ben, can we say that you may not like his methods of how he's approaching all of this, some would say that, but he's winning and he's going to get results as a result of all of this?
There's an argument to be made there, but on the other side, even if Hillary Clinton had been elected president, we were headed towards a trade conflict with China. But I think we would have dealt with it differently. I think we would have dealt with it multilaterally, together with our EU partners, and we would have done it through the WTO. And I personally think that would be a more effective mechanism of changing Chinese trade practices.
But there is something to be said for what is a bully pulpit. If the person wants to act like a bully and get real results, there can be meaningful things that happen.
This is possible, and this is the root of the whole internal battle going on within the EU right now, whether they should be, in effect, caving to Donald Trump on the auto issue, which may encourage him to use this tactic elsewhere.
Frank, what's the next step here, do you think?
Well, remember that 232 on automobiles, the timeline is not until early next year. They're talking about possibly a result in August or September before the midterm. So there's some time to work out a resolution on the automobile case before there's even a finding. But the point about the WTO, I think, is exactly right. The way to address the problems in China and elsewhere is through a multilateral basis. And without
Haven't we tried that for the last 30 years, Frank? I mean, that's the thing. When guys like you say that repeatedly on TV, and I'm not trying to signal you out, Ben said the same thing. We hear this over and over again from people who've been involved in trade discussions with China. You know, that you got to see the tweets and the emails. Isn't that what we've tried for 30 years? And it hasn't changed Chinese behavior to a degree that's sufficient.
Well, I think there's a bipartisan support that we need to be more aggressive with China. But I think the way to address it is not on a unilateral basis. If you have an alliance of like-minded countries, the EU, other Asian countries, after all, that's what the TPP was all about. It was creating an alliance of like-minded countries who would put controls on China's behavior. Remember, the TPP addressed, for the first time in trade rules, something called state-owned enterprises. That goes directly to the operation of China's economy and addresses a lot of the issues that President Trump is complaining about.
So how far do you think this goes?
Well, it could go very far. Putting aside the possibility of an auto deal, If the president goes forward with tariffs against China tomorrow, China retaliates, and then you're going to see the Canadians and others putting up barriers to Chinese imports because they're going to be concerned about the diversion of Chinese goods to their markets.
You think we go full-fledged trade war? I mean, I don't know what you would consider what we're in right now.
We're on the verge of it. And unless the president does the mother of all climb downs tomorrow, this thing will spread.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.